Hi, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and start our webinar now. The link to the feedback survey is in the chat box, so if you need more time or if you want to do it after the webinar, you're more than welcome to. First, I just want to thank you all so much for being here today. I know it's a crazy busy time of year as people are preparing for pre-K registration. I know you all just had spring break as well, so I'm sure you're catching up on things and then also preparing for the end of the school year. So I appreciate you taking the time to be on this webinar, and I hope that we'll cover some helpful things that'll be useful for you all. So this unit, we're going to talk about marketing. And today I'm going to do just a brief introduction of marketing, discuss marketing plans and strategies, and then the bulk of our presentation will be from a guest speaker. We have Chelsea Jeffrey here from Early Matters Dallas, and she is going to talk to us about some of the marketing and outreach strategies that her organization has conducted in the Dallas area. So I'm very excited for you all to hear from her. And then we'll wrap it up and talk about next steps. So just a review of some of the things that we have covered this year. This year we have talked about increasing pre-K enrollment and different things that you can do overall. And some of these things include data-informed decisions and goal setting, creating strategic plans, ensuring that your enrollment processes are family-driven and family-friendly, and then also conducting outreach strategies. And now we're going to focus on marketing. And then we'll wrap up the year with partnerships. And so the idea is that these different things can help to increase and improve the enrollment in your district. So what is marketing exactly? I know that many of us, we have backgrounds in education and we don't have business backgrounds, but we're often tasked with some of these business-like things to do. And so I do not have a business background either, but I just wanted to, kind of do a very high-level overview of what marketing can entail and some very kind of like easy, immediate things that you can do at your district. So marketing is the process in which a business or organization promotes or sells products or services. So in this case, it's you all promoting your pre-K program. And it can include branding, advertising, market research, general or social media campaigns, publicity or sales. So there's lots of different tactics that you can utilize when creating a marketing plan. As we discussed with outreach, there's some general tips for your marketing plan. You'll want to diversify your marketing strategies. Since pre-K eligible families are so diverse, a one-size-fits-all approach may not work due to that diversity. So only putting marquees up may only reach certain populations, or only doing community outreach at certain organizations may only reach certain populations. So you'll definitely want to diversify your marketing strategies since pre-K eligible families are so diverse themselves. You'll also want to meet families where they are, and I think in this day and age that means online and in the community. So both conducting community outreach and advertising in the community, but also improving and increasing your online presence. I know many of you wear many hats and resources are limited. So the best thing you can do is just sort of start small and then increase and improve your marketing strategies each year. And then also you can focus on free or low cost strategies. And really, some two big things that you can do there include your social media or your website. So just some considerations when you're thinking about creating a marketing plan is who is your target audience? So looking at all of those pre-K eligible populations and how to reach those. What resources do you have to support your marketing efforts? And that means not just money, but people or volunteers, board members, different things like that, different people who might be able to help you or other departments within your district. Figuring out what apps or websites families utilize, and you should definitely ask them they might tell you what they use or what they don't use, and that can give you a good idea of where to market your program. Figuring out what messages speak to your families, what program benefits you can sell, that you can highlight to sell your program, where marketing should take place, and how to maximize efforts. So today, I'm mostly going to focus on strategies within these 4 key areas. So your website, social media, events, and then media campaigns. And I want to start with just a quick activity. So imagine that you meet a family with a pre-K eligible child at the grocery store. In 2 to 3 sentences, what information would you share with this family about your program? What do you want families to know about your program? So just this would be sort of an equivalent to an elevator speech. So think about your program, what you would want to tell this family, and then share your answer in the chat function of GoToWebinar. And if it's easier to share it in the question function, that's okay too. I can't 100% remember what the interface looks like on the participant side. So just think about that elevator speech, 2 to 3 sentences, and share it in the chat or the question function. Okay, if you can start wrapping up your elevator speech and then type it into the chat function, and then I'm going to share them out with the group. And it doesn't have to be, anything formal. Just what are the highlights of your program that you would want to share with the family? So Sarah from Leander said, our pre-K program in Leander ISD uses research-based strategies for children to learn through play and be ready for kindergarten. We know it's a big decision to send your little one to school, and they definitely are loved and well cared for in our pre-K programs in Leander ISD. You will be amazed at all they can learn. I think that's great. I think that's really family friendly. The loved and cared for is so important, and that they'll learn. I think those are all key things families care about. Sherry said, helps your child get ready for kinder academically and socially. They will learn academics along with playing with others. That's great. Yeah, I think having like a well-rounded answer with different, touching on different things is definitely helpful. Madi from A-Leaf said, A-Leaf has a combination of half-day and full-day pre-K we can offer to eligible 4-year-olds. We have highly qualified and certified teachers that receive training on the latest developmentally appropriate practices. Our pre-K program understands that children learn through play, and we create environments to support this. That's great. I think that's really strong as well. And letting the family know right away there's half and full day. So great, thank you. These are all wonderful examples. And my goal for this, now that you're thinking about your sort of elevator speech, is now think about your website. So this message that you shared with me and that you typed into the question box, is this message on your website? Often the answer is no. Usually, because there's so many requirements and because it's so complex, our websites focus on here are the requirements, here's where we have pre-K, here's how to sign up. But it doesn't really, sell the program or use family-friendly language. So just think about that a little bit. Think about what's great about your program and think about a great way that you can share that on your website. And Sherry just asked a question. She asked if these will be shared, and yes, I think that's a great idea. So I will definitely share these and send them to the group. If you did not get to send yours to me, definitely feel free to send it in at any time during this webinar, and I'll share that with the whole group as well. So thanks, everybody. So for your website, include all information families need to know, but in a clear, concise manner. You might want to create like drop-down menus or different section headers for eligibility requirements and things like that, because otherwise the page can just have so much information and it can be a little overwhelming for families, especially if they're new to this system and they don't know where to start. Also, it's helpful to create opportunities for families to engage with you on your website with different calls to action. So sign up for our listserv, plan a visit, enroll now, ask us a question. And these are all things that other for-profit businesses utilize on their websites as well. You'll often see sign up for our listserv or different ways that they want you to be engaged. And so if you can create that sort of call to action on your website, that will be helpful as well. And then you'll also want to sell your program. What do you want families to know about the benefits of pre-K? And what do you want families to know about your program specifically? And then lastly, include parent testimonials, photos and videos of families or students and teachers, and stories and quotes about your program. We've heard time and time again that the most powerful thing you can do is to highlight families and children in your marketing materials, because when families see themselves at your program, they may be more inclined to enroll or to choose your program if there's other options in the community. And then also, just sort of when you're looking at your website, think about your own experience with websites that you utilize, any website. What do you like about those websites and why? And on the flip side, which websites frustrate you? I know I'm often frustrated on websites where there's too much information or it's difficult to find the information I need. Sometimes if I can't find something right away, I give up or I try a different website. So think about that as you're looking at the content on your website and how to improve the experience that families are having when they come to your site. So next we're going to talk about social media. You can create pre-K related posts year-round and or also create a separate early childhood page. Don't just focus on content when it's almost registration time. Try to promote your program year-round. That way parents are consistently getting that message to them. Again, create posts that feature families, students, and teachers, videos or pictures with quotes. Those are all things that are really engaging and enticing for families. Highlight family written testimonials, so you can ask families to write a short little paragraph about what they like or dislike about your program. You can use that for feedback, and then you can also highlight any of those success stories on your website or on social media. And then also create visuals, so any infographics, videos, photos with quotes, anything to catch people's attention. Those things can be really helpful on social media. And then similar to the website, think about your experience with social media. What ads catch your attention? And try to think about that as you explore utilizing social media to market your program. Another idea is to offer events. I know many of you have pre-K fairs or things like that. You can also consider offering free events during the evenings, weekends, or in the summer that are targeted towards families with toddlers. That way you're engaging families before pre-K. So story time, play and learn. You can have an early childhood fair or festival. Some people do a touch a truck event where they have people bring in like tractors and police cars or fire trucks or different things like that, and then families can bring their kids out to see them. They're really popular. Petting zoos, book fairs, toy, book, or clothing swaps, or a parent education event with a guest speaker. I know one year I worked at a nonprofit and we had a pediatric sleep specialist come and talk to our families, and it was incredibly popular because many families, don't realize how much sleep their kids need, and so it was a really interesting topic, and it drew in a great number of families. Behavior is also something that all families struggle with, so bringing someone in to talk about that could be helpful. Just different things that that all families struggle with, and it's a great way to connect with families before they're even registering for pre-K. So lastly, I'm going to cover media campaigns. So these obviously are not one of the more free or low cost options, but they are a great option if you have the resources available. And it can be a little more doable sometimes if you partner with a neighboring district, because then you can split those costs. But TV and radio ads are options, and you'll definitely want to explore Spanish radio or other languages as well, so you can reach that demographic. Local newspapers, campus newsletters, utility bills, those are all things I've heard people utilize in order to get the word out about pre-K. Billboards and street banners, so the ones that go over the street. I've seen those several places as well. And then also school buses, those are driving all over the district, so those are a great place to advertise as well. And then some people also create a designated pre-K hotline to include in the advertisements. If possible, this number should be easy to remember and should be staffed with personnel who can answer questions about pre-K eligibility requirements, the location of pre-K, so if it's all campuses or just certain ones, and then any important dates or important documents that the families need to bring in. And this can also be a number where parents text in any questions they have. Parents are often more comfortable texting than calling, so sometimes that can be a helpful strategy. So in summary, ensure your website has clear information, tells your program story, features children, families, and staff. Utilize social media when you can. It's a free, or if you even choose to do ads, it's a very low cost way to reach families. Consider hosting events. And then if you have the resources available, start exploring a media campaign. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to our guest speaker, Chelsea Jeffrey. She's from Early Matters Dallas, and she is going to talk to us about some of the marketing and outreach strategies that they've utilized in their community, and she'll talk firsthand about some of those successful strategies they've used.
Good morning, everyone. So I am pulling up my PowerPoint. It looks like you may be able to see it. Let's see. There it is. Okay, so as Cassie mentioned, I am with an organization called Early Matters Dallas. I have been with Commit, which is a partner of Early Matters Dallas, for 5 years now. And so I've gotten to do a lot of work on third grade reading, but over the past 3 years, my main focus has really been how do we increase pre-K enrollment in Dallas County. And so Early Matters Dallas is a group of over 200 partners across Dallas County who have aligned to a single strategy for early childhood education. And so we believe that if a child has the best foundation to their education, both social, emotional, and academic foundation, then they're going to be more successful in the later grades and set them up for success in life. And so we believe that there's kind of 5 different levers that kind of contribute to kindergarten readiness and third grade reading. And those are access to quality early childhood education, improving the quality of early childhood education, making sure that families and the community is aware of the importance of quality childhood education and demand quality early learning experiences. Making sure that there's a continuum of care that supports children and family beyond schools. And then really ensuring that there's sufficient resources to make sure that those other four things work. The big thing that I focus on really is sort of this awareness and demand piece of our work, by bringing together 16 different school districts around a common pre-K enrollment campaign. So we do a lot of work across all of these levers in Dallas County, but I specifically want to share with you about our pre-K enrollment campaign today. So as I mentioned, we align 16 school districts across Dallas and Tarrant County and Collin County to make sure that families are getting the right information about the availability of pre-K programs, and that they're encouraged to enroll early. And so what this looks like is we have a common enrollment week that always starts the first week of April, every single school year. We then align these districts to a common media strategy that includes mass media like radio and TV advertisements that direct parents to a single website for the entire region. That website is prekdfw.org. It essentially serves as a school locator for families. What we've found is that many families aren't sure of what school district they live in or what campus they need to go to enroll in pre-K. And so a family is able to go to this website, they can enter in their address, they can enter in their eligibility information, and it pulls up a list of results for schools for their specific district of what school is closest to them. What's also great about the website is that it then connects back to the district pages. So if a family lives in Arlington ISD, it will show them the list of campuses that are closest to them in Arlington ISD, and then they can click on a button that says apply now for Arlington ISD pre-K that takes them to the Arlington ISD page. We also have a common text messaging system. And as Cassie mentioned before, we have found that most of our parents are more comfortable with sending in questions via text messages than they are calling or going to a campus in person. And so parents are able to opt into the text messaging system through a number that's shared on those radio and TV advertisements, where they get to choose their district. Then there's automated messages that remind them pre-K enrollment is happening in 1 week. Here's the documents you need to bring, but also ask them questions like, are you nervous about enrolling your child in pre-K? What are you most excited about? And parents can also ask their own questions. Both our staff on our team as well as district staff respond to those messages so that parents are getting information in as close to real time as they can, rather than having to wait for a district office to open at 8 a.m. and maybe respond to a voicemail message. We also heavily focus on community engagement, both through distributing flyers, as well as doing some on-the-ground neighborhood support. And I'll share a little bit more about that in a little bit. And then we use social media. As Cassie said, social media is a huge platform that many of our parents are already on. And so we use social media to run targeted advertisements to certain populations and specific zip codes to help families enroll in pre-K. And so wanted to share kind of first why targeted marketing plans are so important. One, you're really able to reach audiences that you're not already reaching. All of you probably have families enrolled in pre-K and already. So there are already messages that are getting out about pre-K, but you know that there are families that aren't hearing about your pre-K program and don't know about it. Or if they do hear about it, it may not be in the same light that you want your district to be shared in. And so the other benefit is that not only you're reaching audiences that you aren't already reaching, but you get to be the one that shares your story about your pre-K program. As many of you guys mentioned earlier, learning through play, making sure it's a caring and supportive environment for your families and for your students. Those are the messages that parents want to hear. And And so by being able to have a targeted marketing plan, you can share that information with them instead of them thinking that they're going to be sitting behind a desk all day taking a STAR exam. The third piece is you also get aligned and consistent messaging. And so this is really how you make sure that your story is being shared accurately and consistently across your region. And so by having a marketing plan, you get to control what messages are being shared, when they're being shared, who is sharing them. And that way families aren't hearing different pieces of information from varying sources. And finally, it's an efficient and effective use of your resources. I know that school funding is tight and that you guys don't have a lot of cash on hand to spend on marketing. And so you want to make sure that the dollars that you do have, you're using to reach families who need to be reached, and not just kind of putting it out there for the whole world to see. You want it to be targeted specifically to families who are eligible for pre-K and who may not be hearing about pre-K from other sources. So I came up with kind of 4 low-cost ideas and tips to kind of help get started with a pre-K campaign. It's using your data, using parents as messengers, going out and meeting your community, and really utilizing social media. So I'll start with using your data. This is the most important step. It's probably also the hardest step. What we encourage our districts to do is look at your current enrollment data for pre-K first and figure out what is your percent of eligible students enrolled in pre-K at each of your campuses. You can do this in a couple of different ways. One is just using your internal evaluation and assessment folks who have this data through PEAMS, where they can look at the first grade students at each of your campus and identify which of those would have qualified for pre-K based on the eligibility requirements and come up with a total number for that campus. You can then compare that to your actual enrollment on that campus to get an estimated percent eligible. If your assessment and evaluation team isn't ready to take that on or doesn't have the capacity to take that on, TEA also has this data available for you guys, both through the campus reports as well as through the TexasEducationInformation.org platform, the TPEIR reports. So you can use different sources. I would recommend trying to go in-house because that's going to be the most updated. It's also going to be the most reliable data because you're able to actually see the number of first graders who would have qualified. But once you have that percent of students who were eligible to enroll versus who actually did enroll, you can then begin to color code your campuses. So I use a software to create this map, but you can just take a highlighter and highlight campuses different colors based on the amount or the percentage of students that they have enrolled to help you figure out which areas may have a high eligible population that isn't currently enrolled in your campuses. So in this sample, we kind of identified, hey, there's a lot of gray campuses here, which means that there are no students enrolled in pre-K at the campuses, and the campuses that do have pre-K only have between 50 to 60% of their eligible students enrolled. So this is an area that we could do some targeted outreach at. Another way that you could use your data is looking at who is enrolling in your district. And one of the examples I'll give is we have a smaller district that is about 70% African American, 20% Hispanic, and 10% white or other. In Dallas, it's predominantly low income, so most of their students qualify for pre-K. And what we found is when we looked at their actual pre-K enrollment data and who was enrolling, even though Hispanic students represented 20% of their overall student population in their district, they were only about 10% of their pre-K enrollment. And so they realized that there was something that they weren't doing to reach those Hispanic families. And so we started to talk about, okay, well, what sort of marketing materials do you have in Spanish? And that's when they realized that none of their flyers, none of the yard signs that they were putting out, and even some of the information on their website wasn't available in Spanish, so a lot of their Spanish-speaking families weren't getting information about pre-K enrollment just because it wasn't in their language. The next piece is really utilizing your existing parents to be your pre-K champions. We have found that the best messenger for pre-K and really any type of early childhood programming is parents themselves. I'm a parent, and I know that I take advice from other parents much more than I take advice from some figurehead who's talking to me from a video. I want to hear from other parents about their experiences, what they learned, what worked well, what they wouldn't do. And so that way I know, hey, I'm not going to repeat the same mistakes that they made. And so what we really recommend is finding some parent leaders on your campuses who can be your pre-K champions, those who have had children who have attended pre-K programs and who can speak to the benefits of it to their specific child. If your district has an in-house marketing and communications teams that can produce videos, it is worth the time to have them sit down one day with a couple of these parents and ask them questions like, what are the benefits of pre-K enrollment? What would you tell other parents about enrolling their child in pre-K? How has your child improved in both social and academic skills since enrolling in pre-K? And capturing some of their thoughts and opinions on video and creating a video that is just parent testimonials about your pre-K program. This is powerful, one, because it's a parent messenger, but two, other parents in the community are going to see people that they recognize, and they're going to be more likely to enroll because it's someone familiar to them versus a paid actor. You can also use these parent ambassadors to go out into the community, engage with the folks that are around them. They can host neighborhood listening sessions in their house. They can go door to door and hang door signs or hand out flyers and talk about their experiences. But parent ambassadors are really going to be your best mouthpiece for pre-K enrollment marketing. We tend to incentivize parents to participate with this, usually something small, whether that is providing dinner for them through a training night, or it's a $15 to $25 gift card to Walmart. But really just thanking them for their time and for being willing to share about their experiences. Even just a little thank you and a little incentive can go a long way. So in tandem with using the parents to go out into the community, it's also really important for district staff to go out into the community to begin to meet them and understand their needs. One of the things that Dallas ISD does every single year is the Friday before pre-K enrollments begins in April, as well as one of the first 2 weeks in August, they actually go door to door in certain neighborhoods and talk to families. They tend to focus on the apartment complexes because that's where they can hit the most doors in the shortest amount of time. And they focus in areas where they know that enrollment has been low in the past. So one of the reasons why we really emphasize the April 1st registration date is because that allows districts to see which campuses are looking like they may have lower enrollment at the start of the school year, and then do summer outreach to then get enrollment up by the time school starts in August. And so they'll go door to door, handing out flyers, talking to families. But it's also important to go out into the community at various community events. Cassie mentioned this earlier, but not just focusing on back to school time or pre-K registration time, but anytime there are events happening in your community, you can sign up for a booth and just talk about your pre-K program and early childhood program. Grand Prairie ISD does a really great job with this here in Dallas. They go to all the Cinco de Mayo festivals, farmers markets, any event that is happening in their community, they make sure that they have a booth at, and they are advertising and talking about Grand Prairie ISD's pre-K programs. And finally, social media. As Cassie mentioned earlier, social media is a huge, huge platform for marketing. It's also the platform where you can get the biggest bang for your buck, both in terms of being able to target specific locations as well as specific types of people. So This is an example of kind of a video ad that we shared last year during pre-K enrollment. You can see that you can target different ages. We were able to target specific zip codes that we knew had low enrollment. And the one interest you can't see, but it has preschool children. And so really targeting these families that have an interest in preschool or pre-K programs that have children ages 3 and 4. We ran the ad for a little less than a week for $200 and reached almost 19,000 people with it. So social media really allows you to reach a large number of people and target those people that you reach for a small amount of money. It's a little scary how much Facebook and Google and Instagram know about you that you're able to target this, but it's something that we can use to our benefit by making sure that when we're spending money on marketing, that it really only reaches the families that we want it to reach. Whereas with TV and radio advertisements, you're spending a lot of money, but you can't actually control who is listening to those messages. So we really recommend Google Ads, Facebook, Instagram, and you can target their specific interests and ages and demographics through some of those ads. So we've been doing this for 5 years now and have been continuously improving our marketing outreach based on the feedback that we've been hearing from parents. And so these are just a few of the most effective messages that we've heard. Number one, free. Many parents who are eligible for pre-K are unable to afford tuition. And so they need to know first and foremost that if they qualify, it is a free program. I know that there can be some concern that by saying that it's free, it maybe diminishes the quality of the program. That is not the case from what we have found. Parents want to know that it's free, otherwise they're not even going to bother looking at enrolling. The other messages are really around making kindergarten readiness. So pre-K gives your child a head start. 90% of the brain is developed before your child enters kindergarten. Children who attend pre-K are more likely to be reading by 3rd grade. But we also want to emphasize some of the social and emotional development that takes place. So a lot of you guys mentioned earlier that there's play-based learning, that teachers are caring for their students. This is so important for these young babies and their parents to feel comfortable with sending their child to a stranger. They want to know that not only are they going to be learning academically, but they also want to be learning socially and emotionally in these programs too. And as Cassie mentioned, website is where most of your families are going to go first and foremost. I completely echo everything that she said about making it parent friendly, thinking about websites that frustrate you and that you enjoy looking at, and try and make your pre-K page look like that. Oftentimes what we see is just a lot of text and a lot of information about eligibility, documentation, how to register, all of those that are very important. But the message that you want your parents to walk away with is, why should I enroll my child in this district versus maybe a charter school or a private pre-K provider? So it's also important to have some visuals, some parent testimonial, making sure your website is in multiple languages that meet the needs of the families in your district. And then I recommend having sort of that extra information on eligibility, documentation, registration as either a drop-down sidebar that parents can click on and find, or across the top where parents can click on those individually. Dallas ISD does a really great job of putting the information on their website in a really clear and concise way that's parent friendly. For the most part, they cut through a lot of the jargon and kind of legality around pre-K enrollment to make sure that it's in a way that parents can understand it. So overall, we have learned lots of lessons over the year with this. Number one being that parent voice is the most effective. I can tell someone all day long that they should enroll their child in pre-K, but it's 10 times more effective if someone who has actually gone through this process before is the one telling them to enroll their child, and that it's going to be okay, and that their child will always be their child, but it's giving them a head start in school. The other thing is, don't be afraid to engage families where they're at. We've heard a couple of districts say, well, I don't want to go out into the community and knock on their doors because maybe it's dangerous, or that's too much effort, or I don't want to invade their space. We need to be reaching out to families. We need them to know that the school district is a partner with them in their child's learning, and it's not some place that they just send their kid while they go to work or from the hours of 7 to 3, but it's a place that is partnering with them in their child's social, emotional, and academic development. And so going out and meeting families where they already are kind of extends that hand to say, I want to partner with you in raising your child. The third piece is, it is so important to collaborate with your community and other school districts. As I mentioned, we partner with 16 school districts across the DFW area. And part of this is that allows us to be more efficient with our resources. Instead of one district having to pay 100% of the cost for radio and TV advertisements, it's split across 16 different districts, and a lot of our smaller districts then get the benefit of TV and radio advertisements that they wouldn't be able to afford otherwise. The same goes with the website and the texting platform. The smaller districts wouldn't be able to afford that unless they were partnering with the other districts around them. One of the benefits of marketing is that you are reaching a large audience. Some of those may be in your district, some of those may be in the district next door. So the more that you can collaborate with your surrounding districts to come up with a common message around pre-K enrollment and why parents should enroll, the more effective you're going to be. And finally, marketing is a must. Without marketing, parents aren't going to know about your program. We have seen an 11 percentage point increase in eligible pre-K enrollment in Dallas County in just the past 5 years. And a lot of that is because not just our campaign, but the targeted marketing that districts are doing on their own. It's a much more competitive marketplace in the public school arena nowadays, and so it's important for you to be able to get messaging out to parents about why they should enroll in your parent, why your district provides programming that's going to meet their needs and is the best fit for their students. We're going to have some time for some questions, I think, but if you have any additional questions or want to hear more about our pre-K campaign, I'm happy to set up a call with any of you guys. My email is listed here, but you can also ask Cassie for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chelsea. That was really helpful to see all the great things that you all have done in the Dallas area. We are now going to allow time for questions. That's really it for as far as any content. So any questions you have, feel free to ask. We did have a couple of questions come through, Chelsea, during your part. So someone wants to know, what social media apps and websites do you use?
We use Facebook and Instagram for most of our ads, and then use Google Ads. The Google Ads will place ads on whatever website the parent is already using. So, for example, if you're looking at a news website, like your local newspaper, all of those ads that are appearing on your page are from Google and are targeted specifically to you from Google. And so Google kind of places it on whatever website parents are already using, as opposed to you trying to have to guess what website they're using.
Great, thank you. And then this question is for the group. Sarah from Leander wants to know, looking at first graders who would have been eligible through PEAMS only shows EcoDis and ESL. We can't find a way to determine who the military and foster care families are identified who didn't come to pre-K. Has anyone found another way to identify those families? Chelsea, I don't know if you have any insight on that.
So I'm unable to look at the team stuff from my end, but I believe that there is now an indicator for it because it is reported publicly to TEA, and that does include the foster, the military, the Star of Texas Award, and the homeless students in that number. And so I'm not sure where that, like how it's being reported or where the indicator is coming from, but that aggregate number that includes all the qualifiers is now being reported to by TEA.
Yeah, I think that what's in TPEER, when you run those reports and it's showing first graders who would have been pre-K eligible, I think that is only ECODIS and ESL, or at least it was. Maybe they're trying to improve that. But if you're running data locally at your own district through PEEMS, then you might be able to tease that out a little bit better. Any other questions for Chelsea or anything in general? One thing I forgot to mention is that these slides are in the handout section of GoToWebinar. It's both mine and Chelsea's slides. So if you want to share this with anyone, definitely feel free to access it there. This will also go on our SharePoint site within the next couple of days. And so I'll shoot you all an email when it's available there, both the recording and the handouts. So feel free to share it with anyone who might be interested. With that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. Again, Chelsea, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and everything you shared with us today. Some next steps. So we have our PLC next week. We will just have an open conversation about anything that's going on. I'd like to hear about enrollment efforts and how things are going, since it will be the first week of April. And then we can also talk about marketing a little bit more. And then our last unit will be on partnerships, and it'll be our wrap up for the support network. And the webinar and PLC dates are listed there. So with that, we will go ahead and wrap up. Again, thank you all so much for taking the time to be here today, and we'll chat next week on the PLC. And thanks again, Chelsea. Have a good day. Bye.